And welcome back to another episode of the Caffeinated Librarians. This week we're continuing with our classic Canopy series, where we're touching upon some older films and we're talking about them. This week, strap in, it's my pick.
Oh boy.
And this week, we're going for a little cult classic called Carnival of Souls, directed by Herc Harvey in 1962. And, it is the story of a young church organist named Mary Henry, who's haunted by visions of a ghoulish netherworld after surviving what appears to be certain death when a car in which she is a passenger plunges over the edge of a bridge into the river below.
The town let them do that to the bridge for free as long as they fixed it afterwards.
I actually didn't see that one.
I think it said it cost them like $25 to fix it, which money was different then, I guess.
Yeah.
They didn't fix it well. They just put up a couple of boards of plywood.
I saw a couple things. So one of the big aspects of the film is that she keeps seeing this old resort or carnival.
Yes.
That's there. Do you know how much it took for them to rent that place?
A lot.
$50.
Oh wow.
Times.
Where was this filmed?
They
again?
are a changin'.
So the film is based in Lawrence, Kansas.
Bob Dylan.
From my understanding, the Saltaire Pavilion, I believe, is in Salt Lake
The times they are a
City,
changin'.
I believe. I actually have a picture of the actual location.
Ooh.
So this is a file. I'll pass that around.
Okay, so yeah, it was filmed in Lawrence and Salt Lake City. So
Yeah.
it's
That makes sense.
some pretty podunk places.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
I'm ragging on
So I
Salt
have
Lake
some other
City. I'm
pictures of
sorry,
what it
Utah.
looked
No,
like.
you didn't.
It is now a dilapidated husk of its former glory.
Oh, wow.
So it's not anything anymore. It just sits there.
It
I'm
just
fine,
kind
I'm
of sits
fine.
there. It's basically what you see in the film. So I would have stretched.
You know, it actually kind of reminded me of Atlantic City, the boardwalk, a little bit.
Yeah.
Those dilapidated buildings and all that good stuff.
I like it.
But yeah,
It was a very pretty location. It was a very big hot spot when they had it open to public. I did not go that deep into the building though, but now what you see in the movie is actually what it looked like. It
Especially
is a
haunted.
dilapidated. Maybe it's haunted.
they dance there at night.
Ghouls.
I love the ghoul makeup in this.
I have his picture as my.
That's Herc himself.
It took me a minute when I was doing some research on the film to find out that the director himself was just a non-talking, creepy guy going all over the place.
Yeah, I normally am not I don't gravitate towards horror, but I like old horror movies because they use practical effects like makeup and stuff, and I really the Souls freaked me out, but it freaked me out in a way where I knew I wasn't going to get nightmares tonight, after watching it. But it's
Halloween costume,
Yeah.
instant,
absolutely
Yeah.
easy.
it was a lot of fun.
I don't know if this is jumping too far ahead if I talk about this, but it was something that I noticed. So one of my favorite moments of the movie, it's when Mary first gets the quote unquote silent treatment when she's coming out of the fitting room.
Oh yeah.
I call it the
I want to buy the dress. It's like, don't get all Karen on her. Calm down. Wait your turn.
I thought she was going to steal a dress.
And it reminded me of this horror short that I watched called The Changing Room, because what I liked is sort of the transition where she's leaving the mundane into the eerie, as I call. It's like that ripple effect that you see. In the horror short, The Changing Room, something similar happens. So in the short, the woman goes in a changing room, and you see almost not a glitch, but there's an indication that something is going to happen, and it's like a visual indicator for it. So that's what it reminded me of when I saw it. So I was brought back to that horror short, which obviously was done many, many years later. But that kind of brought. So I loved that moment. Sort of the very simple effect that lets you know something is about to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, there were a few great moments, and I'm probably jumping, and I apologize.
No, that's
No,
fine.
that's what
The scene when Mary plays the organ, and I watched it again, and I noticed something also that made it very cool. Did you pay attention to her hand movements as she's playing?
So there's actually a reason for that too.
Oh.
So
because I thought it was cool.
Herc really wanted, one of the big key aspects is when they were talking to the person who did the score, Gene Moore, the composer. The film and music scholar Julie Brown commented on the score, saying that the organ is one of the spectral presences in Carnival of Souls, summoning up or being summoned by the various allusions in the film to cinema's past. The screenwriter, John Clifford, stated that the locations Harvey chose for the film influenced the decision to use an organ score. The depiction of the organ played by Mary was implemented by Harvey. He wanted to add to more of a gothic feel, and that's why her hands and the way that they shoot the organ are the way that they are, is because he wanted to keep with the weird, ephemeral, like, gothic feel of film.
I just forget how complicated organs are because she's like hitting stuff with her feet.
It has
too.
like double
It's
keys.
crazy.
And there's like cranks on the side.
Yeah, organs are nuts.
I believe like
Good
the
money, good
organ is like one of the hardest instruments to learn how to play and to play it successfully.
I also liked, I didn't think of it at first, but almost the sacrilege aspect, never mind the music that's played, but the fact that she's barefoot, because you wouldn't be barefoot in church.
Yep.
So, and,
Not in these churches.
well, yeah, I guess it depends. And I like how, I didn't catch the first time, but she looks down at her feet, and she has this almost expression where she's like, well, that can't be right. But she just resumes it. But I was also like, the way she moves, like her hands are going like this as she's playing. So it's very eerie and ghostly. It's almost like she's literally been possessed by her hands. Like I wasn't.
And that's what they
they're
talk
literally
about, her
moving
having
like this.
soul. Like they're going to
Yeah.
bring soul back into the thing. And then
Yeah.
it's almost like when she encounters, Herc, the ghoul here, that's following her. It's almost as if he like finally catches up to her. And at that point, she no longer has soul in her music. Which is kind of an interesting way to look at
I think
that.
Jesus got a different kind of soul.
I just think she did.
I also like that they come out of the water, which this
That
might be a
That
dumb
was
moment,
sick.
but I thought it was in connection to basically the manner of her death.
Yes.
Because the ghouls are summoned from the
Well, they
water.
all look like the people who died in like some of the women I thought were, and first when I initially was watching it, I thought that the people coming out when they showed the women coming out, because she was in a car filled with women, I thought that those were all the girls who died. And but then I saw men popping out and I was like, okay, no.
I kind of had the same thought with some of the ghouly women, and it looked like women that you saw throughout the movie. I thought the same thing. I didn't notice it with the men though. But
Could I give a little background on the
Please.
production of this?
Yeah.
So, it's sort of the opposite of what the other films we've been watching for this, which were made in studios and stuff. This was totally an independent
Amateur,
production. Herc Harvey he mainly made like educational films and like workplace safety videos. He did one workplace safety video called Shake Hands with Danger, which is hysterical. It's super gory, just like insane. But which is also a very similar background to George Romero. So I just think it's funny that both of these horror films came out in the 60s like that. But yeah, he raised the money for it just by asking local businessmen for $500 a piece.
Wow.
His initial budget was only $17,000, like when he was raising money. The total budget would then be like $33,000, which is low by, I guess, like today's standards, if we think about it.
definitely.
So,
I think it's low by their standards as well.
and because he had that knowledge in studios and stuff like that, he was able to actually work around certain issues, like for budgeting purposes, which I thought was actually kind of resourceful of it.
Yeah, I saw something that they couldn't afford rear projection setups, so they just used like a newsreel camera instead, the Reflex, and but that just gives it so much more of a real feeling for any of the scenes in Cars instead of like the sort of hokey rear projection. I don't know, it's love it.
I am gonna say when I saw the accident, I was like, oh, I already know how this movie's gonna end.
I kind of laughed at the accident. I'm not gonna,
Agreed.
it's hard
Yes,
watching
it was
older
ridiculous.
films sometimes because of you understand the low budget of the film, and so you're trying to keep serious.
They
Like, this
crashed that car for
but
real
the
though.
The sound effect was kind of funny. It was like,
They were going like 15 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
First, I'm like, let's drag, and then it's just like, let's go. And I'm like, that girl is smoking a cigarette while also this is already a problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, no wonder she crashed.
Well,
Fell.
actually, didn't they nudge them? That was the thing. They nudged
on the
their
bridge, they
vehicle.
nudged them, and it caused them to, oh no.
Yeah.
But they panned to the woman on the steering wheel like this with her cigarette, and I'm over here like, she's already gonna
That
die.
steering wheel was wider than she was.
And she had the calmest expression on her face during the drag. She's just like,
You can tell she's been there, done that before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
well, to be fair, so this was her. They discovered this actress in New York City. She was supposed to be in another film, but she turned it down to be a part of this one. And she
that other
only
film was
took the
Gone
role.
with the Wind.
Oh my god. She took this role as a quote, take the money and run type of situation. She was only paid $2,000 for her work on the film.
I wonder what was going on in her life that she needed to.
Some other movie was called Violet something.
Actors always need money. Yeah.
You got to get your start somewhere. You
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
get
looking
the
at
money.
Violent Midnight. There's no way
Violet
she was getting
Midnight.
paid $2K for this.
That's why De Niro does things like Dirty Grandpa, right?
Yeah.
I think he does that for the art. I think he really likes Dirty Grandpa. I think if you approached him for a sequel, he'd do it for free.
The one thing that kind of threw me off, though, about this film was the acting on some, with the exception of the douchey neighbor.
Yo, I wanted to talk about
really
him.
got on my nerves, and I will talk.
He's supposed to. I feel he's
Oh,
supposed
yeah.
to get on your nerves.
No, I know he
Yeah.
definitely grates on me, but
You don't like music, or you don't like my music.
yeah, I was
my
like,
life.
oh, like I honestly thought it was gonna go in a darker direction with him. I was like, oh, this guy is like one drink away from like losing his. Like,
You don't like to drink? I like to drink.
But like, and I don't know whether that was the only one. The acting at times just seemed really off. Like it was almost like they were just reading their lines, not feeling the lines.
I feel like that was supposed to happen.
I said
in
this
a
to
sense,
Lou
yeah.
earlier. I think it's a bug, but I think it becomes a feature. You know, I think it was just, you know, it's a small time independent movie. They're getting whoever they can. But I think it just
Super
creates a
B,
weird
super
atmosphere
tiny,
where
weird
no
amateur
one's
shots.
quite right.
Yeah.
Because I was saying, like, especially, like, I really noticed it with the priest.
oh
Like,
yeah.
when she's playing the organ, he just, like, gradually goes, like,
Yeah, I saw that too.
and you're just like, oh, that's weird. Bad acting, but like Joe said, it kind of like that ends up becoming like a theme within it. But
The
I thought
doctor is what got me the most.
I thought the main woman was great.
Yeah, I really liked
I
her.
don't know.
At
Maybe,
first,
maybe
I
it was
wasn't
just me.
sure.
I don't know.
And then there was the scene where she let the guy into her apartment in the morning, and she was just kind of spent the whole time like quietly mocking him.
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is awesome. She rules."
Get out of my. First off, the scene where she like sees the ghoul down in the lobby.
Scared
I was
me.
shouting at my screen because there's a lock on the door and she just shuts the door and I'm like, lock the door, lock the door, lock the door, and she's just like sitting there and then she moves away from the door like, lock the door, go back and lock the door, and then she's like goes to the door and she hears like the woman and I'm like, you're standing right there, lock the door, put the thing in the padlock, and she then it doesn't take her till the woman comes into the room and she's like, then she locks the door. I'm like, what are you doing?
No, honestly,
I
I legit thought the same thing. Like the whole in the tub scene moment, she was like, "Come in, Mrs." I was like,
just come in.
I was
You
like,
didn't even
first
close
of
the
all,
door.
I said, first
She was
of all,
still in the tub too.
but I was saying, it's like, first of all, you don't know if it's the dumpy
Dizzy
old
big
woman that you're renting from. You also have the pervert next door neighbor. Like,
She
really?
hadn't met the neighbor at that point.
She knew about him, but she hadn't met him yet. But to be fair, he
She's
just
a
opens the
seductress.
door. He opens the door
No,
aggressively.
that's the
too,
opposite.
Like, blam, and you're like, he opens the door so aggressively. Though he's like,
does.
bam. And you're like, it's locked.
No,
It's
the
locked.
way he moved genuinely upset me. He was, I don't know, especially whenever she would like rebuff him, he would like move in like a predator. It was just freaky.
He was. That's what he was.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
He literally has really bad friends in town too, because that one guy is like, "Hey, I love that interaction too in the bar. It sounded so like
Oh,
the
yeah.
lines just coming out just felt really bad to me, but it was like he's like, "Hey, who's that doll you got over there?" And he's just like, "It's none of your business." He's like, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't want them thinking I'm like you. And I'm like,
It's
what
like
they
too
want?
late.
Yeah.
Too
He
late.
was just so cringy, and I mentioned this to Joe. I said, like, if I feel like with these older movies that we're watching, a lot of the guys are aggressively horn doggish.
Yeah.
They have one.
Running
Some
theme.
of them have one thing in mind, and they are going to let you know what that one thing is.
This guy, I told Lou earlier, reminded me of Pete Campbell from Mad Men if he had been born in New Jersey. Just
I read
He was not going to let her say it. Take no for an answer.
No, I read an article that the movie is like a psychosexual
That was one
exploration
writing.
of like women's sexuality and the dangers that men pose to women.
I take the main character as asexual. That was my read on the
Did you
film.
get that too?
Yeah, because she
She's
says like
traumatized?
I have never been interested in romance. I've never
But
been interested
I didn't
in
want to like
sex.
jump to that conclusion.
That's how I take
But
it.
then I was like, is she asexual? I legit was having the same thoughts, or could she just be someone who?
Or maybe she just got out of a car crash and right now she's not really looking for
But
something because
she
she's
said she never was
traumatized.
Never.
interested. Yeah.
To be fair, maybe that's why. Maybe she just never had any feelings to begin with. Because when she's literally in the car during the drag race, I would be like,
I think
in
she
the
has
car,
feelings.
and she's just like,
It's just not.
she sat there during the drag
Asexuals
race, like,
experience emotions, Amanda.
doesn't experience it. She
was gripping the what do you call that? The
The panic bar?
Yeah.
no, that's not. It's a panic bar. Are you
What's a panic
sure?
bar?
That's not what
I
I.
used
Yeah,
to
the
call
little
it the
thing, yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
okay.
the old
But-
handle, the panic bar.
oh, I didn't know that's what it was called. But she
I
was.
hold on to those all the time, just out of comfort.
I
I'm
do
just
that
not even
too.
out of
Sometimes you're
panic.
just like, all right, my arm needs to be up right now.
That's what it is.
Like,
It's just,
yeah.
I have a feeling I need this.
Well,
Right?
when the car makes that turn, so you don't
It's
lean
supposed
like
to hold
this.
your jackets, Amanda. No.
But she was yeah. But that whole moment, like, I like the way she handles her neighbor because I was like, because if that were me, first of all, if that were me, he wouldn't be in my room.
That door locked 24/7. That's me.
Especially like he wasn't even trying to hide the creep vibes. They were just like leeching off of him. But
I think the hotel was working with him.
And then,
Those
you
doors
know-
clearly can just be open.
Yes,
There is
there was
no
no other
other
lock.
lock other than that little tiny piece. And I'm like, what kind of
Just
bed
that,
and
but you can't
breakfast
lock it
are
from the
you
outside.
running? Don't go here.
Isn't-
There were Yelp reviews then. Don't go. There's no locks on the door.
that really got to you, didn't it?
I was just, why would you let him in your room for breakfast nonetheless? Like, woman!
Do you know what bugged me?
No wonder it's all a dream.
Not even the locked door scene. He poured barely any coffee in that cup. I was staring at the level of coffee in the cup.
I had a couple
You know,
shots
Simona?
last
Simona?
night.
There was this much coffee.
Simona.
It's very hard
Simona.
to record a scene with a full cup of coffee.
Constant
Simona.
over and over and over again,
Simona.
too, I'm assuming.
Simona,
Yeah.
Of course you'd be the one to notice that.
Okay, I get that, but I'm saying, couldn't
off,
you
he
at
was
least have
drinking a little
poured
soup.
like that? Like legit, there's like boom.
Coffee
Oh,
costs money,
thanks.
Simona. They were on a very low budget.
Oh please.
It's just hard to
They
handle
don't
a
have
cup
catering
like that
companies.
with hot liquid in it while you're filming a scene.
Then the
a
cup should
couple
not have been
times.
able where you can see it because legit that took me out of the moment.
All right, go back to 1963 and tell her that.
62, 60. He filmed it in 1961, and apparently he only wrote the script for this whole thing, like the whole story, in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
which is crazy. It's like
Yeah.
a fever dream.
This is the only full-length like fiction film he did. So
I have another question too, and maybe this is another obvious thing, but okay, so the moments when Mary experiences like fade out, so
The,
she
like,
hears
the dead sound.
Yeah, she hears no sound. People don't interact with her. Okay, I understand that because maybe that's when she's starting to sort of realize, or maybe that's like the hint that she's not here. But how do you explain that people who are obviously alive are interacting with her?
So Joe, I had the same exact question. Me and you, Simone, always. We go
I-
like this. Joe explained it.
how I take it is it's just her dream space as she's drowning. So it's just like she's sort of fading in and out of
Consciousness,
of
Control,
yeah,
maybe.
and just
So do those, are we supposed to assume that these people are maybe people she may have met and they've entered the dream, or these are people she's legit just made up in her dream?
Or maybe they're literally they have
that's
this,
up to you.
It's the Carnival of Souls. Maybe this is her for some.
yeah.
I've
I
seen-
think the ghouls are just death itself calling
Yeah.
to her.
Yeah, I
They're-
agree with that, yeah.
The fascinating part about this movie is that when I was talking to people about, like, you know, watching the film, they always said, oh, everyone always has, like, a different interpretation of the film. There's, like, 50 billion meanings that you could have behind it. The main ones being, like, is it a psychosexual journey? Is it, like, is this just, like, a dream that she has, like, right as she's, like, at death's door? Is this more of a stuff like that?
How do they get to the
both at once, but watch
psychosexual
out.
journey thing?
Because of how the men are portrayed in the
Yeah.
movie, they're portrayed as being very kind of, like...
Either
Yeah,
sexually
aggressive.
pretty much every man she interacts with is interested in labeling her or forcing her to act a
like
certain
even
way.
like think about the doctor moment. Like there were a few aspects.
Delusional.
That doctor annoyed me. First,
Yeah, what kind of
Clearly.
doctor
This woman's
was he?
in trouble.
He was not a psychiatrist,
Yeah.
he said.
So
So,
then
like,
why was she
yeah.
First off,
to him, yeah.
this is how you can tell it's a dream, is that he saw her right away. He was like, do you have time now? And he's like, of course. And I'm like, first off, you gotta make an appointment, you gotta wait like a year.
He was
Bye.
like, you got to fill out the pre-appointment survey. For,
I mean,
Make sure your health
What kind of
insurance
insurance do
covers
you have?
it.
And not
You
to-
know,
not to mention the
have
fact-
your like initial meeting one-on-one to make sure he's a good fit.
But I mean, not to mention the fact that towards the end of the movie, when she goes to him because she's having another like dead sound moment,
it's just her
the,
guy.
and
I
the
saw
chair
him right
turns
away, I was
around
like,
and
God
he's a
damn it.
ghoul. So it's like
I saw it. It's like you just see his hand first off on the desk and the little like wispy hairs. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop talking, lady. He's right there. Just
Yeah.
open your eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idiot, right?
well, yeah.
Did
At
anybody
that
find her
point, she's-
eyes unsettling too at times?
She's
It was not like
distraught.
her eyes did the thing that, like, you know, Bill Skarsgård can do, where it just kind of wanders a little bit.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Her when she doesn't look like, I know that the body is not always like is not 100% symmetrical on the other end, which includes eyes too. But at the same time, they did a lot of panning to her face, and like where her one eye would be staring here, her other one might slightly be looking
It's
that
probably
way.
a lazy. That happens to. I have a lazy eye.
I was like, it
Bill
really added to my.
Does that by himself?
He did it
I
for
don't know.
Pennywise.
Yeah. But she has an amazing face. I
You
love
didn't
the
know
close-ups
that?
on her.
it's okay.
He
No,
does
I
it
just
on his
assumed
own.
it was like
He
a
did
contact.
No, he naturally can do that.
Wow.
He did it for the kids, and he used to freak them out.
Yeah, freak me.
He did it on like the late night show or something like that. He did them.
So
You could probably find it on YouTube.
the assistant director on this,
I was gonna bring that up.
he
I'm glad
he
you
actually
are.
went on to direct some episodes of Buffy.
Hey,
Comes
He
full
did.
circle.
Buffy. Wasn't there an episode of Buffy that kind of the people walked around like ghouls a little bit?
It's called it's the silent
musical
episode. They're
one.
called The Gentleman.
Yeah. Did he
this
direct that one?
I don't know.
Can we find out? Let's
It's season 4. It's
She knows the
it's what.
I'm just about to be. I'm about to be impressed. I think.
He
Raise
said,
up
he
a
said,
doggy.
of course, that you
course.
would know.
He
that-
went
And
on
I
to
mean that in
do
a compliment.
the- I think it
Oh.
was the Mary Tyler Moore show.
He did the intro for Mary Tyler Moore
Hawaii
and
Five-O,
Hawaii Five-O.
Get
Yeah.
Smart. He also did. He worked on another film called like The Delinquents, apparently, that was directed by Robert Altman.
Yes.
So apparently he had quite a career after this.
He directed an episode in season 1, Out of Mind, Out of Sight.
Oh, that makes. Oh, I can see that how that'd be the case because that's
Which one
about
was that
a.
one?
That's season 1. It's about a girl who suffers from being bullied. She's been mostly ignored all her life, and she was treated as invisible, and she literally becomes invisible.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
That's definitely an anime I've seen.
Yeah.
We love talking about people being invisible.
Yeah, but,
what they do.
But the doctor, it's so true. It's like one of the things that kind of bothered me, and that's also because I had this kind of happen to me with a patron, was like when he immediately just puts his arm around her waist, and I'm like space. Like
Put
that
that
just
up
kind of
here.
bothered
Up
me. Like
here.
it's a very intimate gesture. It's like, and it's her waist. It's not even like consolingly around the shoulder. No, it's like he loops his arm and just like grabs her waist and like that kind of bothered me.
Yeah, that's weird.
But also it's true. It's like he's so condescending. Like he's not even listening to what she's telling him.
He doesn't care. He wants his perception of her to be there.
And he says,
And,
"I'm
like-
not even a psychiatrist." So what are you doing? Stop talking.
Also-
What is
You know,
your career
when-
then? Why
when
did you lie to me?
When she runs to him and is like freaking out, you see the grip he has on her arms.
Yeah,
Like
no.
I was like, oh my god, like he's like manhandling her.
Well, everyone's
Yeah.
also quick to dismiss like
Yeah.
the fact that she. So I don't know how I forget how long it was. It like a month or so after the accident that she goes back to playing the organ and stuff like that.
I think so. Yeah, it's not been.
And then
that
she
long.
she gets a job, and I think she's still reaming from the trauma of it. I was surprised that when the priest was like, some fresh air will do some good. I'm gonna go down by the river, and I thought she was gonna be like, no, I don't want to go to the river. That would have been an understandable response, but she was like, sure, fine, let's go. I'll go with you. And I'm like, I thought something bad was going to happen. I was foreboding. She crashed into a river. The last thing I would want to see is a river and a bridge. All my friends are dead.
Wow, her agent refused to represent her after seeing this movie.
Oh.
Why?
What the
Well, the
hell?
reception of this film was kind of interesting because...
It was just forgotten when it came out.
Yeah, but it had such an influence. Like,
It-
I think there was a Twilight Zone episode, like The Hitchhiker was somewhat loose, somewhat based, or if anything. It wasn't aired until like 2 years later, but it was like...
This movie ended up getting a lot of play on like New York stations late at night
Had a
because
big
I
cult following.
believe this was immediately public domain because I think he might have forgotten to put a copyright mark on it.
Oh.
Happened to Night of the Living Dead as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which inspired that director. He
But-
inspired them.
But yeah, and just like it went by the 80s, like there had been more of a cult following around it.
They did Halloween showings. They would put it in theaters during Halloween.
I mean, there were parts that were legitimately like, yeah, I looked it up too. There were parts that were legitimately, I wouldn't say scary, but like frightening. Like when she
creeped
looks
you out.
down on him, yeah,
Creeped you
like-
like
out.
in the hallway, I was like, ooh.
It's
Especially
got
the
a
spiraling
great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like the scene of the ghouls dancing is really just sort of
Yes.
like perfect.
Well, I think
Well,
that
and,
goes
like,
into
and,
those
like-
gothic elements.
It's like that scene that like when she's watching them dance and then it's like she's then a ghoul that's dancing and then it goes back to her
I
just
liked
watching
that.
it. I liked that, but it had such like a creep factor to it that just really made the scene.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that the woman in his arms changes during that whole scene. It's like you see the pan of him dancing
Yeah.
with her, but then when you see her on the side, he's dancing with someone with dark hair.
Yeah.
And so it's very
I like how
interesting.
she continues to dance even when he's not with her. She just continues,
Must
and
be a
she's
very good
barefoot.
dancer.
I think she's the only one that's barefoot.
You don't need shoes in the next world.
I know that, but all the other girls are nice. They have shoes on their feet and socks and everything.
Well, I think it depends
They're
upon
fancy.
how they died. Because if you're in a car in a river and the current's fast enough and you're going to lose your shoes.
There's
Especially,
I just-
especially in the time period that she's living in, women wore heels. No one wore
Yo,
sneakers.
she ran in those heels.
Yes, she
she did.
On the
she did.
beach, no less.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't even
Yeah.
walk in sandals on the beach.
Also, now I know that it doesn't really matter because she's not really alive at this point or anything like that. And anything that happens after the crash, whatever. Come on, guys. Is it really going to take you that long to find a car? I mean, come on. It's like it's not a. Was it a river?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a river.
I mean, like, come on.
with a strong current.
Well, we don't know
but
the
it's a
time.
car.
We don't know
It's
the
a-
time in which all of this because her perception
No,
of
no,
time
no.
is
So
completely
I
different.
imagine that they maybe took like, I don't know, like an hour to find the car or something like
Yeah,
that.
no.
And the entire time is the hour or something like that. But I'm just saying,
In the
that
dream,
part,
it took well over a month.
yeah. And the
Her
way they're
moving
like fishing
towns.
for it, they're like just throwing lines.
You ain't
and then
going to
I'm
get down there.
it's a metal thing to detect metal.
right, but like,
Goddamn
come on,
idiots.
guys, just go under the water.
But
The
they
car's
didn't
gonna
have
be.
that scuba
But
gear.
they don't
It's too
have-
expensive.
They don't have scuba gear, and
But why don't they have scuba gear? There was
like-
scuba
They were
gear.
small town Kansas area. You think they
There
got the
was
money for scuba
in
gear?
the '60s.
They could get a guy who could just dive pretty well.
That's what
They
what
could
I-
at least get the bodies out.
And this,
you know,
this is of no
Look, when he
this
was
is of
writing
no
it, I'm sure he
consequence.
didn't think to himself, I need scuba diver.
This is of no consequence to the movie. It was just I'm sitting there thinking, wow, you
All
guys
these
are not
potholes.
trying hard enough to find this car. Like,
They're not trying hard enough to find the car. She's not trying hard enough for her own safety.
yeah,
First off, she sat in the car while it was getting repaired.
That was
That's-
awesome.
I brought that up.
I
Can I
wish I
just
could
stay
do
in the
that.
car? And I'm like,
Which
no,
would they let
get
you do
out.
No, of course not. Definitely.
I
not.
want to do that though. I want to be high up.
They
On
would
the
never.
lift.
Just,
Wow.
how long is this going to take?
Yeah, right. What if it takes 4 hours? You're just
She
gonna
drove off with the car while it was still like.
And if you
whoop.
notice, the attendant watched the car drive off, and he was like perplexed by it.
He's
So,
like, what?
well, I mean, it's like I think that in that scene, he doesn't see her, and he believes that the car just drove out on its own.
Yo, got
because-
some Herbie going on here.
Yeah. Well, because if you look at his expression, it's like
I thought he was annoyed.
I would be surprised if the car that was on a hydraulic, lift
Yeah.
had suddenly just broken out and she didn't pay for the service I had.
Well,
I'd
well,
be
I
angry
mean,
too.
It's like the look just reminded me of somebody thinking no one's going to believe me if I tell anybody about this.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And not to mention the
I'm not
fact
getting paid today.
right. Well, and not to mention the fact that he wasn't the one who put the hydro lift down. It was the ghoul who did it.
True.
Did I miss? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice though. He didn't want her to.
This is unsafe. Before we take her to hell, let's.
Well, a lot of people imagine that the sequence you're seeing is that not really a dream, but it's like purgatory.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she's stuck in between.
I think that's how, when Joe and I were talking, that's how we.
I saw that.
that's-
as a
That's
thing,
how
too.
that's how I interpreted that as well.
So really crappy purgatory.
I liked the scene. I liked the effect of at one point the dancers look like they're like it's fast forward, like being really fast, like that
Yes.
effect. It just adds to the. It reminds me of I think it was it the House on Haunted Hill remake, where there's a scene where like and I think they accomplished it. They made the actor walk backwards and then they sped it up. But there's a scene where the woman's looking through her camcorder and you see the doctors operating on the guy alive. No, I'm sorry, that's another scene. Sorry.
Yeah.
Basically, it's security cam. Sorry, you see the doctor, the mad doctor on the security cam, and the way he's walking, it looks almost as if he's like wobbling. And the effect was that the actor walked backwards, and I think then they sped it up to get that effect. Anyway, I kind of like when they do that because it adds to the eeriness
Yeah.
of the
Yes.
entire scene and everything. It was really cool. And I like also how their makeup looks like it's caked on. Like it's almost like the new Joker movies with Heath Ledger. Like his whole idea behind the makeup was that like he couldn't be bothered to like reapply it properly, or like it looks very caked
Here
on.
it's
and-
like caked on, but it almost gives the effect that like they're falling apart. Like yeah.
The black under. First off, when they came out of the water, that makeup didn't come off. I was like, yo, that's some waterproof makeup.
You saw they had filmed that in a pool, thankfully, instead of in the Salt Lake.
Well, to be fair, the Salt Lake was dried up by the time they got there, so they couldn't have filmed it in there.
And was there ice in the water? Like the scene where she's playing the
I
Wait,
think
but
it's
then where was the
during winter.
boardwalk?
It was a boardwalk.
Yeah.
So it's like there was water there at one point, but by the time he went to go film there, it had already
No,
dried up.
but we saw water from the boardwalk.
Did we? Yeah, we did.
There was some water.
It was a fever dream.
Yeah, there's still water in the Great Salt Lake now.
That area.
Now
though,
not
is
so
like-
much.
Now not so much.
It's not full, but there's water.
It's still.
There's still a lake there.
Again, not so much.
I'm looking at it.
We're gonna debate the lake now.
What
There's
is
too
the
much-
lake?
It's the
Maybe we're in a
largest
dream.
saltwater lake in the Western Hemisphere.
Let's see. What's it? I wonder if they have pictures of the place now. What is it? The Saltaire Pavilion. Let's go. I think we all need to go.
Road trip.
Utah.
Employment.
We can't have.
What is it called? Employee.
Can't have coffee?
And not in Salt Lake City, like in
empowerment
I
um,
like it.
Yeah.
like the University of
Yeah.
Utah. One teacher, she didn't work there because you're not allowed to have coffee
Why?
Mormons.
because Mormons
they
don't
can't
drink
drink
any
caffeine?
caffeine.
Yeah.
So that's why she didn't work there
The
because she
Mormons
wouldn't be
kill
able
a
to
lot
drink.
of fun.
Stupid question.
Okay, I'm sorry. I should not have mentioned the Mormons.
No,
Do
you're
all
fine. You're fine.
Mormons live in Utah?
No.
No, the
No.
Mormons live here in New York. That's
No,
how I did my project.
I
Now, second to follow question. Do you have to be Mormon to live in Utah?
No.
No.
Yes.
That'd be crazy.
It is law.
It is
It's a
law.
state.
Run by Mormon.
Get off our land!
Welcome to our land. Would you like to join our church today?
Why are the Mormons Mickey Mouse?
That's my old man voice.
Welcome to Utah. Oh, no. Is that coffee you're drinking? Not anymore. This cross is a magical tool. I'm done.
Joe was gonna like cut all of this out.
No, this is pretty funny.
It's too late.
I'm in my own personal purgatory.
That sure as hell would be mine.
Can
no
that
coffee.
Can that be the new phrase? It's like everyone says it's my own personal hell. This is my own personal purgatory.
I mean, it would suck if you died and just had to hang out in Salt Lake City for a while.
What is that
Yeah.
building over there that I love that every time like she goes to sleep, like she thinks about the place, and I'm like, you haven't even been there
I'm
yet.
sorry.
It's before she even
Utah
goes
has some
there.
beautiful skiing, though.
Can we
She's-
talk about the garden? The garden, the park? Because I was
Park. Yeah.
Wait, like the
Big
part where
one.
she meets like the doctor?
yeah, because
Okay.
I noticed it's when she goes
Sounds
back to
devotional.
the park that the sound comes back. Was that supposed to be almost like a Garden of Eden thing, or maybe I'm really reading it? Because it's when she goes
Purgatory
to
doesn't
the
have relation to Garden of Eden.
That's not how I read
That's
it,
a little
but
too,
I just
too deep into
yeah.
the reading here.
probably I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that it's in both times when she experiences like the death of sound. It's when she's back in the park that the sound returns. So I don't know. I thought there was significance
It's a good
to that.
interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can look at this movie and have so many different interpretations about it.
I love stuff that has multiple interpretations.
Yeah, because like she hears there's you see there's a shot where she's looking through the canopy of trees and the sunlight's pouring, and then the first thing she hears is the bird singing, and then everything else comes back to her, and that happens twice.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
So I
You're
thought
right.
there was some significance to her going to that location and the sound returning,
There probably is.
but maybe it's just me.
No, there-
Touched grass.
maybe trees. No.
I want to go to a broken down carnival now.
Let's
Yeah.
do it. I really want to go. I'll bring my spirit board. And
I
we'll
gotta tell
do
you-
some seances and crap.
No.
Oh
No.
Playland, when
stage.
it's not
No.
open, like if you go into the park, when it's closed, it's kind of creepy.
Playland
this
got
Halloween,
kind of
is that what we're
cursed
doing?
vibes to begin with,
Yeah.
so
Is that
I
what
think
we're
they're open
doing?
on Halloween.
We can do it.
Playland?
Yeah, because I think they do like the Halloween, like you know how amusement parks do spooky
I
stuff.
love the dragon
Aw,
coaster.
I thought you meant we were actually gonna go to like some abandoned old place. And
No.
Just hang out.
Playland?
There's crazy no.
Playland is an old.
There's junkies, probably. At one point, they're not all there anymore. They did their graffiti and they're gone.
I like another scene is when the first time she goes in, and I was paying attention because I was expecting to see things in the background as she was walking through, but I like how I don't know what those things are called, the weights that just start moving.
Yeah.
And then when that thing just shoots down the slide. Now,
It freaked me out. I was like, oh.
yeah, are we supposed to assume that it's the souls occupying the carnival, but right now she doesn't see them?
They're having a
I
that
think
they're
so.
doing that?
Yeah.
Sort
I
of
think
trying to
so.
draw attention to the fact that they're there? Or was that just
She should have went down the slide. I think she would have fun time. I think the ghouls would have been nicer to her.
There was a really beautiful shot of her in the carnival where it was all in silhouette and you just saw her in the windows and you saw like the lake outside. Oh my god,
Yeah.
lovely. A lot of this movie was beautifully shot.
I liked some of the transition.
Yeah,
Like,
there was a great part early on where a guy was like, "Oh, that's right over there," and the camera swerved into black, and then she opened up the door, and I was like, "Oh, getting
that's-
fancy."
is that now, Joe? Is that called something?
Yeah, it's really just a match cut at the end of the day.
See, I
Yeah.
knew it. I knew I could count on Joe. Yeah, I
Word of
like
the day
those.
is match cut.
Why is it called a match cut?
Because it's matching one image to the next. To mask the cut over. It's because
okay.
it just went into darkness, so he cut to another dark scene, and yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Cool.
But it almost like Edgar Wright rips that off all the time. But yeah.
There were
That was
some
cool,
things
I like
I
that.
haven't taken a look into, like the church windows. She kept staring at the particular image. I didn't know who that was. I
Yeah.
don't go to church. I don't know who that is.
It's all right, Amanda.
First
I
off, they
wouldn't
used
know either.
English words on the window pane, and I was like, what kind of church is this? That's
Not Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not a Catholic church.
I've never seen in my life a
It was probably
I think that-
some form of Protestant
Yeah, I think the
church.
Catholics are the only ones who use Latin.
Yeah. Yeah.
fair enough. I
Because-
don't know enough about that.
Because during the Protestant Reformation, the leaders of the Protestant church wanted the people to
be
be
accessible,
able to read the Bible and think for themselves, essentially. So there were people who were actually printing the Bible in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah, it took the Catholics until like the 60s to even do mass in English, which is
Yeah.
just crazy. to
The rich
me.
people were like, gross. Don't.
I
I don't
talk
think
my
the rich
language.
people were speaking Latin
Yeah,
by
no.
that point. I
They
think
weren't,
no
but they
one was
thought it was
speaking
cool.
Latin but priests.
My mom was born in 1959, so she can remember going to church in the 60s and hearing the priest say the mass in Latin.
Just sit there, just
I kind of saw that
That's
scene,
a great
especially
mass to
like her trying to cling. I mean, there's no indication that she's a particularly religious person,
Yeah.
but I kind of saw
She's
like
not.
on
She
a
says that it's just
rewatch
for money.
that I guess she was realizing what's happening to her. I thought of it as her like reaching for angelic assistance
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
not
definitely could see. Yes.
and not receiving any in that point. And also, I liked how there's a shot to. I'm assuming they're saints. I don't know who's depicted in the stained glass.
Yeah,
but
it's always one
they're
image
barefoot.
of some guy looking up.
She's barefoot.
Look how desperate she was
Well,
for.
what did the window pane say?
I didn't
forget
catch
what
it.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting, especially the focus on eyes, and that's the same. The stained glass window that she focuses on during the possession or whatever you want to call it organ scene is the same one she looks at when she first enters the church, and she's actually standing by when I'm going to call him a priest, but he's probably a pastor. When the pastor comes up to her and basically says whether or not she wants to continue, I think it's the same stained glass window she's looking at.
Yeah.
It's the same figure. Only at that time they focus on, I think, the figure's eyes.
I love how mad
do,
the
it's
priest
always
got
the eyes,
at the cool organ music. He was like, "Get that out of here!
Yeah.
That's blasphemous!"
I also kind of thought you could have given her a shot.
right.
It's like he immediately just banishes her. He says, "But you're always welcome."
She was
I'm
playing
like,
spooky
sacrilegious
music. She's
music.
got to get out of there.
I know.
He gave her a shot. He
Can't bring
welcomed
those
her with
vibes
open
in.
arms when she was playing nice music, and then
But-
she wasn't playing nice music, and she looked possessed by the devil, and so get out of my church. Gross. We ain't about to be a part of the Exorcist. We ain't about to be part of.
But he could have given her another chance. I don't know. I thought that was kind of rude. But anyway.
Well, it's like one of those things where it's like her sense of belonging is gone as well throughout the film. It's like she leaves the town because she wants to leave, just to get a new start. Then she goes to Kansas, the little church town, and unfortunately, like, you know, she thinks that she's made it, but she has no like emotional attachment to the town in any regard. It's just for money. It's she makes good bank, playing the
Yeah.
organ, and then when she feels uncomfortable in the
Yeah,
whole town
exactly.
because there's creepy ghoul guy walking around. He even enters the church, which shows that, you know, this is not a safe place. And so
And he's
she
not. He
goes.
can't be evil because we're going with the assumption that they're following sort
No,
of
it's
Christian.
a purgatory-based
Yeah.
thing. So there's no good, there's no evil. Purgatory
I don't-
is kind of like where you
I-
stay
I-
until they judge you.
I don't think the priest is evil, but I think
No,
he's,
not
No,
the
the
priest.
creepy
Sorry,
ghoul
I meant.
guy.
Oh, the ghoul.
I meant
Yeah.
the I call him the pale man or the pale faced man. That just sounds a little, I don't know.
The pale man.
Pale man.
Pale.
I don't think he's supposed to be evil because I was thinking if he's evil, he wouldn't be able to enter a church. But if it's not really, never mind, forget it. But I thought maybe that's the reason why he's able to be in there because he's not evil.
I don't know if it's going.
Maybe
with
I'm
that.
thinking.
Yeah,
way too- okay.
I don't think this movie's particularly like
Yeah,
Christian.
Oh,
in its
okay.
thinking.
No, it's just,
yeah.
I think
it
that, yeah.
uses that, but I don't think it's particularly like
Well, yeah,
adhering
when
to
I-
those.
when
Oh,
I
it's a
was-
man rising from the water.
when I was when I was watching the movie, I also did not get that interpretation. I think they're just
okay.
using elements of religion to move the story forward.
Okay, because I was also thinking it's supposed to be a sacred space.
That's what I was saying.
And
It's like you have all these spaces that she like tries to be in that could
Like
be
the
safe
park.
places. A park is a public, large area. You're safe. People could see you.
Right.
A church is considered a safe place, but you know this, what she deems the school like being to be like an evil presence that's horrifying, like terrorizing her, a stalker guy.
Right.
It's like the church isn't there for her. She can't feel safe because he entered the church, so he's there. She can't go to a doctor's office and get help that she needs because he's there.
Yeah.
She can't go to her room. He's there. She can't go anywhere. I think he's even at the department store, isn't he? When she's getting the dress, he's there. It's like driving on the road to her new life. You see the guy in the side window. No matter where she goes, he's there. So there's no safe place that she can go. She can't leave.
And his role essentially is he trying to bring her to an awareness of her death, or is he simply I need to collect her?
I mean, I feel like
Well, in
he's
purgatory,
more
you
of,
wouldn't be
like,
collected.
A representation of like the Grim Reaper.
I think
Yeah, I
so.
saw
So
him
he's
as
like
coming to
you're
collect.
here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe she's a lost soul. He needs to shepherd on to the next part of life, whatever it is, whatever this person's
Yeah, there's
interpretation
some
of the
real
afterlife is.
Some real
Yeah.
similarities between this and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I haven't seen it, although I've been told it
great
kicked,
movie.
It kicked Avatar's ass in the butt and score and reviews, but we were very much considering seeing that in theater.
It's really good. See it.
Jesus Christ! Back in that Shrek era. Here we come.
Shrek 5 coming out this year.
Stop it.
Really?
Yeah, they
Stop,
teach
no.
Shrek 5 at the end of Puss.
Oh no, I didn't even watch the
No,
last one.
going back since
Me
we
neither.
The
talk
fourth
about
one's better than the third one by like a mile.
I don't know that I saw the third
Third
one.
I
was
saw the
bad.
third one.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess when
just
you
saw
add
all
big
of
kids
them.
to
I like the
things.
second one when she's like, holding out for a hero. That's good
Yeah, no,
stuff.
the second one was great.
Yeah.
Second one's probably the best one.
Yeah.
I saw all of them. I enjoyed all of them.
I didn't bother to watch the side ones with Puss in Boots initially.
The first one's actually pretty good. This one's genuinely great.
Oh, there's
Like,
another Puss in Boots movie?
There
Yeah.
was one they
The
made
first one.
previously, and then they had like a TV show for him, and then
This one is legit probably the best thing DreamWorks has done in like a decade.
I've been hearing
Better
everything.
than How to
I've
Train
seen
Your
the fan
Dragon.
art.
Damn, was that the last decade? Wild. It seems so long ago. I probably like it better than How to Train Your Dragon.
Wow.
The only
I really like Puss in Boots to begin with. So
Yeah.
and like this
Okay.
just had such a cool animation style
So
that
you
it
have
Can't
felt.
even really
biased
compare
opinion.
the two.
The only thing I don't like about How to Train Your Dragon is Jay Baruchel.
I love Jay Bear.
Can't stand him. Can't stand his voice.
See, now you get it. It's
Feel
like me
bad.
with like last week's episode
I
with
feel
Shirley
bad.
Booth.
It's nothing
Can handle
personal
it.
to Jay. I
Her
feel
voice
bad
makes me angry.
for him. I didn't really mind him in.
Her voice
This
makes
is
me
the end.
feral.
But I just as a voice actor, I don't know. It just
I feel that. I feel like
Yeah.
there's some voices out there you
Yeah.
just.
No,
It's just
I
like.
think I enjoy him more as a voice actor.
oh, yeah.
But I loved him
Yeah.
in This Is the End. That's one of my favorite movies.
Such a good
So,
movie.
I love him in that.
so funny.
Oh, good times, good times. But so there was a remake of this movie. It went straight to video.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
It looked.
It was a Wes
rough
Craven
from
movie.
the poster. He produced it. He didn't direct it.
Yeah, he did a James Patterson. He just slapped his name on it. It's like this'll get people to see it. Oh, now he's looking at it.
Look,
It did receive negative reviews.
If I had a
so-
name like Wes Craven, I wouldn't care. I would put my name on everything and make that money.
That's James
It's like-
Patterson.
20%
That's James
on.
Patterson.
like-
James Patsky.
No, but like James Patterson claims he wrote them. That's the difference.
I love. There was my
Wes Craven is not taking a director's credit. He's producing it. Like,
Yeah, no.
98.
But it's called like Wes Craven's like Wes Craven presents Carnival of Souls, and you're just like,
Yep.
hold on.
Lou, are you gonna share with the rest of the class?
What's it got? What's it
It
got?
just doesn't. It just looks. It looks. I don't
Puss
know.
in Boots.
More comical than.
Uh,
than
yeah,
Like, if you want to scroll to the one of the clowns.
there is
that-
also a
there's like a
novelization of the
clown
film as well.
Instead of like a ghoul-looking guy, they made him
he's
a
a
clown.
Came out 2 years ago, actually, 2020.
Ah.
Called
This movie?
Nightmare Pavilion.
Oh.
There was a novelization of the film called Nightmare Pavilion. It was released in October 2020. So, yeah. Doubt we have that.
I'm just gonna look up what other titles this has gone by over the years.
Oh my god. And
Public domain horror films always go by about 15 different titles.
That was.
You hand to me and then I get to them.
Let's see.
But there's, and apparently a lot of the scenes of this movie have also been used in like music videos.
Yes.
Drake's
Really?
music video "Knife Talk." He
Public
uses the scene
domain.
where
You don't need to
Yeah.
pay for it.
What would they be?
Phoebe Bridgers' "Smoke Signals," Lana Del Rey's "13 Beaches," and
But what would they be using? Like what?
Therapy, the Northern Irish rock
What
band.
part
Church.
of?
Probably just stuff with the ghouls. I
Yeah,
feel
they're
like.
just—it's an iconic looking scene. Them coming out of the water, them dancing. 13 Beaches. I think they use the.
I love that song, "Knife Talk" by Drake.
There you go. He uses it.
That song's dope.
Clips of the film are used throughout the video.
So,
well,
it only
there you
went
go.
by one alternate title in the U.S. I'm a little sad about that, but
Which
Wow.
was, what was
it
it?
was Corridors of Evil.
Corridors of
which
Evil.
It doesn't even add up.
Guys, Drake uses like.
Yeah, it says throughout the music video he uses scenes.
Now, do you think Drake knew what Carnival of
No.
Souls was
No.
before it, or do you think somebody
No.
was like, "Listen, this will work for this"?
No, he doesn't direct his stuff. It's usually they hire a director to.
No, I'm
make the
sure,
videos.
but do you think
They
that
get
he
input,
knows
yeah.
what
I don't
Carnival-
know.
I'm sure he saw that.
I
and was
don't,
like, "That's
Drake
cool, that's
doesn't
cool with me."
strike me as like a big movie guy.
Then again,
No,
I don't know.
right.
Drake.
Yeah. Like if like Denzel Curry put this in a music video, like, oh, Denzel definitely was into this
knows what he's
beforehand.
doing,
Yeah.
Maybe Drake, not so much. But there's 3 versions of this film, or 3 cuts
Yes.
of this film. The one we saw, I think, is the one that you see most of, and I got freaked out when I was like, oh no, which one is it? There's a longer version of the film, which is supposed to be the director's cut, which I think is like a 91-minute runtime, where they cut out a scene on when they put it on television, I believe, or in the theaters. I forget which one. But they,
Television cuts are usually longer.
yeah. So in this one, they cut out kind of like, I guess, the scene of when she's talking to the attendant in the car shop. And apparently that scene goes on for a little bit extra. And there's an extra scene where the doctor talks to the landlady a bit more.
Can
So-
we talk about the landlady?
Yes. So I'm so glad you brought that
I was
up.
scared that it was going to be Shirley Booth again.
She kept it 100 though. Like when I just was watching part of a Drake video, so she kept it 100. But listen, at the end, like when Mary is starting to kind of lose her mind a little bit, the landlord's like, "My God, I hope she leaves." Like, I was like,
She seemed kind of like...
she was the one character that was just like.
I liked when she got mad at
Yeah,
her. She was
like,
like, I can't even refund your rent.
Yeah.
Like,
She was a little higher.
She's also the only other woman character that Mary
That's
has any
true.
significant
Yes.
contact with.
And she still doesn't believe her.
No, but I like when I was reading the article on the psychosexual aspect
Yeah.
of the interpretation of the film. They're talking about, like, for example, women being independent. Mary's a woman who's not tied to any male figure.
How dare she?
She's very independent. She drives on her own. She, basically the dangers of independence in the eyes of, I guess, the patriarchy, but also women who sort of are on their own without any protection. In comes, creepy neighbor dude who has no boundaries whatsoever. And
She had protection. She didn't use it.
yeah.
Which was the lock on the door!
Oh, you're really hung up about that lock on the door, man.
It was a whole like 2 minutes of just her walking around the apartment, and I'm like, lock
Amanda,
the door!
you gotta move on.
I can't!
I'll help you. Well, that's-
Creepy stalker guy in the hallway,
Well
and the last
said.
thing you do is back up from the door. He's walking, he's not sprinting to your room. You got all the time.
Actually, that
He wasn't even moving.
He got up from the chair and started to move towards, and that's when she freaked out and ran to her room, and then she stood there for him to come up to the door, and she didn't lock the door once! All right. You can view Carnival of Souls from 1962 on our Canopy app here at the library. If you have a library card with us, it's free to use. It's got a ton of movies and documentaries and it's TV shows. I'm actually surprised with some of the selection I've found on there. Discover a new movie. And
If you're looking for a heartwarming film, Blue Valentine is on there.
It's
No.
real art, you know.
Yeah, real art.
No, it's not a heartwarming film.
That's
best.
really depressing.
And with that, we'll see you next week when we continue our series.